did you? Ah, 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 ah. Anything you want. Ah, 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 ah.
Iran, Venezuela and Turkey reveal gold's true value when paper money becomes worthless, analyst to RT. The world will inevitably dip into crisis, with gold and silver again emerging as real money, Claudio Grass, an independent precious metals advisor and Mises ambassador told RT. People today, especially in the West, have forgotten that paper money used to be a mere property title for a certain amount of gold or silver. Today, paper money is nothing more than a debt security. It is nothing more but collateral, the promise of the former generation that the future generation will pay off the debt via taxes and inflation, said Grass. The analyst gives examples of Iran, Venezuela and Turkey, whose currencies crashed against the US dollar, and people rushed to buy gold and other precious metals instead. A rising gold price is the barometer that shows that there is something wrong with the system. When the price of gold is rising, the last person on the street understands that there is something wrong with the economy, he said. And I also have no doubt that the next crisis will be not regional, but global. All markets are manipulated, from the bond, to the stock and real estate market, into bubble territory. What can be said with certainty of gold and silver, is that even if the price might come down in the short term with a strengthening USD, this will only lay the ground for the next great bull market, Grass added. Grass notes that as paper money loses its purchasing power when governments print more, this creates a few winners, but many more losers. It will only create a larger discontent among people, adding more pressure on fiat money. Fiat currencies are only supported by trust and belief in institutions, which are now facing a historic crisis, across the board. As more and more citizens, especially in the West, begin to question more, to do their own homework instead of accepting things at face value, and to look for alternative solutions, I believe that fiat money, and perhaps the current monetary system at large, will eventually succumb under this pressure, said Grass. Venezuela says it is refining gold in Turkey following sanctions. Venezuela's central bank this year began refining gold in Turkey following a wave of international sanctions that have left it unwilling to carry out such operations in Switzerland, the country's mining minister said on Wednesday. The central bank for several years has been buying gold from small miners in the south of the country and refining it to be used as monetary gold to shore up its international reserves that have tumbled as the country's socialist economy implodes. This is an agreement established with Turkey and the Venezuelan central bank, said Victor Cano in a press conference. It's being done by allied countries because imagine what would happen if we sent gold to Switzerland and we are told that it has to stay there because of sanctions. He did not say which Turkish companies were involved or how much had been refined there, but said the government had purchased 9.1 tons of gold from small miners this year. The gold is returned to Venezuela after being refined in Turkey and becomes part of the central bank's portfolio of assets, he said. The United States last year issued several sets of sanctions against Venezuela for violating human rights and undermining democracy, including a blanket ban on U.S. citizens buying newly issued debt from Venezuela and its state-owned companies. President Nicolas Maduro says the sanctions are part of an economic war that he blames for problems including chronic shortages of food and medicine and inflation that in June topped 46,000% per year. Cano was responding to comments by opposition leader Julio Borges, who said the government was selling gold to Turkey in an effort to compensate for declining production of oil, which provides the lion's share of the country's foreign exchange. There is no gold contraband to Turkey, Cano said. Iranians hoard gold as currency collapses ahead of snapback sanctions. On Tuesday just after midnight U.S. Eastern Time, the Trump administration is set to bring back a first wave of restrictions that had been waived under the Iran nuclear deal, an Obama-era agreement that gave Iran sanctions relief in exchange for curbs on its nuclear program. The new sanctions limit dealings in Iran's currency and with its automotive industry. They also threaten U.S. penalties for banks that finance the precious metals trade with Iran and against anyone who sells precious metals to the Iranian government. And, as the Wall Street Journal reports, worries about a shaky economy and enticed by government sales of gold coins, Iranians have converted savings into gold recently even as prices skyrocketed. According to Bombast, a site that tracks unofficial exchange rates, Iran's currency, the rial, has seen a record weakening this year. Currently trading at roughly 101,000 per US dollar compared with about 43,000 in January, and this has sparked panic among Iranians, as the Wall Street Journal reports they are hoarding gold as a safeguard against a collapsing local currency and soaring cost of living pushing the metal's price to records in Tehran. People are changing their money into gold because it's a reliable investment commodity, said Mohammad Kashir, the head of Gold and Jewelry Committee under Iran's Chamber of Guilds, a coalition of merchants. Demand for gold bars and coins in Iran tripled year-over-year in the second quarter to about 15 metric tons, according to a World Gold Council report on Thursday. Iran's central bank has minted hundreds of thousands of new coins, more than 60 tons of gold in total, to feed the demand. The move has had little impact beyond stoking more demand for the metal. Gold prices in the country are soaring above fair value as Wall Street Journal notes. People have lined up outside banks this year to place advance orders for Imami coins in central bank auctions, where they are often priced at lower than market rates. The price of an Imami, a central bank minted gold coin weighing 8.13 grams, stood at around 36 million rials on Sunday, more than double its price in January. It had hit a record of more than 45 million rials a week ago. The demand for gold in Iran is also bucking a shaky picture globally. Spot gold prices have fallen by about 6% this year to about $1,200 an ounce. Demand for gold has been so resilient that prices are outpacing even the rial's historic depreciation against the dollar. After factoring out fluctuations in the rial, the price of an Imami coin went from $346 in January to $379 today, a 9.5% rise. With prices near records, many people said they were buying only because they had to do so. A computer engineer who identified himself as Mr. Boni said he was shopping for a set of bridal jewelry. "It's what you have to do," he said. "I'm buying now because I should, but otherwise it's not a good time." And all of this is happening despite Iranian authorities' attempts to put the brakes on gold prices, including turning their focus to prosecuting people who allegedly are hoarding coins in an effort to keep prices high.